All right, welcome to our second section of new material. So today we're going to take it one step further from what we did yesterday. Yesterday we did just inputting values into a table, right? And we plugged in X and we got a Y value. So today we're going to take that and we're going to make it into ordered pairs, and then we're going to plot it on a coordinate plane. The other thing that's a little bit different today is this is what I call the process column. So in the process column, instead of writing y equals, I wrote f of x. So that f parentheses x, that means that this is a function of x. So there's an x in there. We can plug something in for x and the output value is a y. So this does not mean multiplication. The f is not being multiplied by x. It just means when you input an x value here, you input an x value here, and then you evaluate. So it's just a notation. If it makes you uncomfortable, this is the exact same thing as saying y equals. We're just saying that y is a function of x. All right, let's get started. So the idea is that we're going to be plotting this function, and since we don't really know how to plot functions yet, we haven't really learned how to graph linear equations, we're going to use an input-output table to do that. So there's nothing here, so we're just going to do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And just like we did yesterday, we're just going to input these values. If we kept the f of x, it would just say f of -2 equals -2 plus 4. So anywhere you see an x, you put in that input value. We don't do anything on this side. It just means f of -2 equals whatever happens. So -2 plus 4 is +2. You don't have to include this piece of it. If it's overwhelming for you, just leave it out and just evaluate this piece. So I'm going to do the next one, and I'm going to do it without writing that function. So I'm going to put the -1 in, and -1 plus 4 is +3. Now I want to input 0, and we're going to evaluate this expression. 0 plus 4 is 4. Almost there. We're going to plug in a +1. So we have 1 plus 4, and that's 5. And finally, we're going to input the 2. And 2 plus 4 is 6. So when we did this yesterday, we were done. We're just going to take this one step further. I want you to look at your x value and your y value and just write it as an ordered pair. So when x was -2, the y value was +2. When the x was -1, the y was 3. When the x value that we plugged in was 0, the output, the y value was 4. When we plugged in a 1, we got 5. And then finally, when we evaluated this function with x equals 2, we got that y was equal to 6. So I've got this list of ordered pairs. That's not every possible point on this line, because we just picked these 5 x values, but it's 5 points on the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot them. So I'm going to plot -2, +2, -1, +3, 0, +4, 1, and +5, and 2, and +6. So there is our linear function. So all of those points make what we can kind of see right now is going to be a line. Tomorrow we're going to talk more in detail about this line that we drew. So we'll look at what's the rate of change, how fast is it going up versus over, maybe where is it crossing the axes. But for today, all I want you to do is plot those points and see if it makes a line. All the ones that I'm giving you right now should make lines. If it doesn't, then you probably made a mistake. So that's our first one. I don't have graph paper at home. I found this in my notebook from an old assignment that we did, and I put it in a sheet protector so that I could erase and reuse it over and over, because I don't have any graph paper. If you guys don't have graph paper at home, you could just draw one graph and just plot everything on one. Just do what you can. All right. Our next problem, our function, we have this function of x is equal to -3 times x. So we're going to pick some values. Let's just pick the same ones, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. we're going to evaluate this function when x is equal to all these values. So for the first one, I have -3 times -2. -3 times -2 is +6. Next one, -3 times my x value, and -3 times -1 is +3. -3 times 0 is 0. -3 times 1 is -3. And then finally, our last one, we have -3 times 2. So yesterday we were done, we were just evaluating, but today we're going to take it that one step further, and we're going to make these into ordered pairs. So we're going to take the x and its corresponding y value, and we're going to list it as ordered pairs. So here's my first one. Next, we plugged in -1 and got 3. When we plugged in 0, we got 0. This is a special kind of function because it passes through the origin. 1 gave us -3, and finally 2 gives us -6. So now I'm ready to plot all of those. Let's see what this line looks like. So -2 was at 6, -1 is at 3, goes right through the origin. That's called a proportional relationship when it goes through the origin like that. And 2 is at -6. So again, tomorrow we're going to look at these characteristics of the different graphs, their rate of change, what direction they're going, where they're crossing the axes. So this one's got some kind of special characteristics. It went through the origin, and if you remember, the last one we did was going up and to the right, and this one's going down. That's called having a negative slope. We'll deal with that stuff tomorrow. Today I just want you plotting it and seeing if it turns into a line. We've got one more to do. I'm going to erase this one, and we're going to evaluate our last function. I'm going to stick with my same x values. So -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. I'm going to fill in my function. 2 times something minus 1. We're going to plug in a -2 this time. So 2 times -2 is -4. Minus 1 more is -5. We're going to do that again. 2 times -1 minus 1. So -2 minus 1 more. Next one, we're looking at 2 times 0, which is 0, minus 1 is -1. This one's not going to go through the origin. Now we have the positives. 2 times 1 minus 1 will give us 1. And then finally our last one, 2 times 2 minus 1. So that's 3. Now that we've evaluated our 5 points, we're going to make their ordered pairs. I plugged in a -2 and I got a -5. Think of that function machine if you guys saw that video yet. We put a -1 in and a -3 came out, like chicks and chicken nuggets. We put in a 0, we got a -1. We put in a 1 and it gave us back a 1. And finally we plugged in a 2 and it gave us a 3. I'm going to plot those and let's see what this line looks like. So I've got -2 and -5, -1 and -3, 0 and -1, 1 and +1, and finally 2 and +3. So my points did form a line. All the ones I'm giving you right now should form lines. So if they don't, then you want to go back and check. This one's a little bit steeper than our first one. The first one was really only going like up 1 square and over 1 square, but this one's a little steeper. It's going up and to the right this time instead of down. And it didn't go through the origin. All right, this is all I expect for you guys to be able to do on your own today. So you're going to plug in the x values, get the y values out, turn them into ordered pairs, and plot them on your coordinate plane. All right, I made you guys one that you're going to do on your own. So now's the point where you should pause if you want to try this by yourself. So pause the video, and then I will do this, and you can play the video and check your work. Good luck. Have fun.